look at this little face
Oh my god.
and tell me he's not worth thousands of dollars.
Man, he is priceless.
This little guy.
He's so cute.
So the real question is, are pets worth it? Let's talk about it.
Let us talk about it. Welcome to Net with Lizzy and Lissa, where we analyze hidden costs and empower you to make your own damn decisions in life. He's so cute. Each episode covers a different facet of life, and at the end of each episode, we each give our takes on whether we think something is net positive or net negative.
I'm Lizzy, a strategist and consultant with 17 years of experience in finance and investing.
And I'm Lissa, a personal finance expert and an accredited financial counselor. We're best friends who talk about money
And everything else.
So are pets worth it?
First up, running the numbers on pets.
According to the American Pet Products Association, 66% of U.S. households, so 86.9 million homes, own a pet.
Damn.
Yeah, two-thirds. Own a pet.
Wow. Okay, well, millennials own more pets than any other generation.
Yep.
So of that 66%, 33% are millennials, followed by Gen X at 25% and baby boomers at 24%, according to the most recent American Pet Products Association National Pet Owners Survey.
In 2022, pet spending averaged $741 per year, with millennials increasing their spend from previous years, and everyone else ended up decreasing relative to previous years. I'm not gonna lie, that feels low.
That feels really low.
But it is an average, and I know some people would be skipping out on. Yeah, we'll talk about it. Yeah.
So women also spend significantly more on pets compared to men. $647 on average versus $282 annually. So almost 3 times as much.
$282 a year? What? It
Those
must
poor
be
ass pets.
Or it must be like easy pets, like lizards.
A fish.
Yeah, fish.
Yeah,
fish.
fish.
Yeah, maybe lizards not that easy.
Well, I don't
Yeah.
know, but
well, we know that there's more to life than statistics and numbers, so let's talk about it. Are pets worth it? Well, let's meet Buckets.
This is Buckets. This is my new puppy that I've had for, I think, 4 weeks today. And today he's 12 weeks old. He's really my first pet of my own.
Yeah, of your own. You've had family pets.
Yeah, I had a family dog, but I was kind of already out of the house.
I'm going to be distracted this whole episode.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
This little guy. Yeah, we had a dog. I think we got him, I was like 19.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like kind of out of the house. And then we have another corgi now. My parents and my brother, kind of like a collective dog. But when I was young, we had pets. We were not successful with pets, I'll say.
What pets did you have?
We had one dog that was a little asshole, and it turned me off of dogs for a long time. We had hamsters and like rabbits at different points. There are just lots of stories. I mean, we had 5 kids in the house. Yeah. It was chaotic of like, they put the cage outside because it smells, and then it like dies in the rain or gets like fried on the trampoline. Like just poor pets.
A couple sad ones too.
I definitely got a newt at one point, and this is kind of funny. I was like a little kid. We would like run wild, you know? So like, I think I was maybe 8 or 9. Me and my friends would go walk up to like the shopping center, and there was a Petco there. Yeah. And I just had like change that I had saved up, and I just bought a newt, and I brought it home.
What does a newt look like? Is it like a lizard?
But they're like colorful and like gooey. Like
we're gonna have to throw a picture up on the screen.
Yeah. So, and then of course I didn't take care of it. I was a little kid, and I didn't even ask if I could have one. So it got a little chaotic. But yeah, so I didn't have that experience growing up. I was not really a pet person. Yeah. Until recently.
And so now in your mid-30s, you adopted your first. This is your own.
My first
dog,
little
your
guy,
own puppy.
My son.
So
Bro,
cute.
okay. Can I just tell you, it's really embarrassing how much I didn't understand pet people and how I am the most insane pet person.
Oh
now.
yeah, it happens.
Like, I talk to him in baby talk all day long. I sing him songs.
Yeah.
I tell him
You make
stories.
up songs with his name in it.
Yeah. Bucket's the dog. It's so embarrassing. I'm the worst.
Like, all my friends, so I've had, he's so cute.
Baby.
I've had 2 dogs for the last 10 years. 10 years. And
10 years.
throughout that 10 years, I've had a lot. Oh my God. I've had friends who have gotten dogs in that span. Like, they're similar to you. And same thing. Like, overnight, they're a different person. I'm like, see, I've been trying to tell you.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I did that too.
Probably,
before I had dogs myself.
It's funny because I've always thought that would be the case when I have kids eventually. But, like, I like other people's dogs.
Yeah.
I am obsessed with him.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like the like love that you feel and the care and like the stuff that would gross me out with other people's dogs.
Yeah.
It just doesn't bother me the same, you know?
I have my set of animals that I love, like my sister's dogs, my mom's dogs, and then there's other friends' dogs that I also have taken care of before. But like outside of that, it's like, I don't even want to pick up another dog's poop.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Just so you know, you are the first person in the whole world who I picked up their dog's poop.
Oh, really?
Do you know that?
No,
when
I
you
didn't
lived in
know
Playa
that.
Vista, and for whatever reason, I was watching the dogs. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I was like, that is love.
Yeah.
Because that was a hard no for me.
Yeah, and it's weird when it's someone else's pet.
Yeah.
Kind of like changing someone else's diaper, like someone else's diaper, someone
So-
else's baby's diaper,
or someone else's.
It's like you have a very few kind of babies you would do that for.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did you end up a pet owner?
I always had pets my whole life, but my mom never let us have a dog.
Okay.
Supposedly my older siblings had a dog when they were growing up, because there's a big age gap between us.
Yeah.
And like they didn't really take care of it, and so it was like
a lot
that.
of work,
Supposedly,
that kind of thing.
I don't know if that actually was true.
Or
And
that's
then-
the story.
That's the story.
Yeah.
And then so my mom, whenever we wanted a pet, she would always like convince us to get more like easy, like pets that were easier to take care of than
Like,
a
what
dog.
did you guys have?
So we had a lot of birds. So we had
okay.
canaries, we had budgerigars, we had pigeons. They were white pigeons, so they kind of looked like doves, but they were actually pigeons.
Okay.
We also had a dove. I had turtles. What other turtles, amphibians? What other reptiles and amphibians did I have? Fish. We had everything except like a furry pet.
Okay.
And then we could never get cats because my mom's allergic. And then I found out
allergic,
later
right?
I'm also very, very allergic to cats.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was my history throughout life.
Oh, damn. That was hard, buddy.
This for people not watching the video. Buckets is biting the note cards.
And my hand also.
These are my brand new note cards.
I know, sorry.
It's okay. There's a whole stash of them. So that was my childhood. And then when I was in my 20s, when I was first starting out, like working and stuff, I didn't think of getting a pet because I was like, I could barely take care of myself, right? Like financially. And like, you know, I'm always like partying. I'm always out of the house. Like I can't take care of a dog. And then when I started to make a little bit more money, it was always in the back of my head that I wanted a dog. So that then the idea got planted in my head 10, 12 years ago. And then it was there. And then I ended up like, just one year thinking I'm going to go to all these adoption places and see where I could find myself a dog. And then it just happened. And then I got 2.
So tell us about that.
So here's how I ended up with 2 dogs. I went to an adoption center in the Valley here in Los Angeles County. And the first dog that they brought out, like ran straight up to me. And I was like, oh my God, he's so cute. They were like, his name is Duke. He's 10 months old. His owner surrendered him.
Okay.
And he was like so cute and like came up to me. So I was like, okay, I want him.
Yeah.
Done. Like, how much does he
It's fun.
cost? They're like, I think it was like $120 to adopt him because he had already gotten neutered and like
nice.
he
Okay.
got all the shots and stuff. And then I was like, okay, like let's take him. And then 2 minutes later, they brought out his brother, and they were like, his brother, another boy dog, and they were like, his name is Bonnie. I'm like, Bonnie? Why would you? Who named him Bonnie? Why would you guys do that to him?
Yeah, poor boy.
Yeah, and I'm like, they're like, if you take both of them, if you take both of them,
BOGO.
Yeah, they're like, we'll give you him for half off. So buy one, get one half off. So
Bamboozled.
So all in $180 for 2 dogs. And I didn't even think twice. I was like, oh man, if I split them up, their siblings, like, they're going to miss each other. Mm-hmm. And I was like, so I went home with 2 dogs. I had 2 roommates at the time. So I called them up and I was like, I'm going to be coming home with 2 dogs. And it was a Sunday. It was Father's Day, actually, in 2014. Part of it was me, like, my dad had already passed at that point, and I was like, wow, this is kind of symbolic. Like, I couldn't celebrate Father's Day today, but I'm gonna become a dog parent.
You're a dog parent.
And then so I had to find a store that was open because I didn't have anything. I had no leashes, no crate, and it was a Sunday on a holiday. It's like, I barely made it in. It was like closing time, like 5-6 o'clock, and bought a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And like, I didn't even look at the price tag. I just like threw it in the cart and said,
throw it in the bag,
and figure it out later. Got home, and then we were like, oh my God, look at these 2 scrawny, because they were like malnourished. Like, they were, wherever they lived before the pound was like not great. Yeah. Yeah. Rocco's like missing a tail. Yeah. He's a broken tail. So they were malnourished. Now they're living the good life.
Facts.
Yeah. So that's how I ended up with dogs, and I've had them for 10 years, and they just turned 11. Yeah.
All right. So talk about the cost. You talked about the cost for you to acquire your dogs.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the other costs.
Yeah. So financial costs to getting a dog specifically. A couple of years ago, I did this whole spreadsheet analysis because I was like, what is the range? Like, people always ask me, like, how much does it cost? Because I'm thinking of getting one. And, you know, obviously there's the other things you have to think of. We'll get to that. Yeah. Of like having a pet. But financially, I was like, well, let me like do some research and see what it costs on the low end and the higher end. Because for context, like I said, my dogs, Rocco and Miles, I'll put a picture of them on the screen. Yeah. But Rocco and Miles, they are living the good life. They get fresh food, so it costs way more. Mm-hmm. They have Bark Box, which is like toys that get sent. So like they live the good life. So I wanted to know, like, well, if someone is not going to give their dog like luxurious food and you know, buy them kibble, like, what's the spectrum? So here's kind of what I found. And this was a couple years ago. So inflation, I believe, is probably going to affect
for sure
these numbers. So the cost estimates that I found was in your first year, it's going to cost more. And the reason being is some dogs still need to get their shots and their initial vaccinations. And then you need the initial equipment, right? Like a crate, leash, random
grooming
things.
stuff.
Grooming, like random things.
All kinds of supplies.
Yeah, collars. Like, there's things you need up front. So first year is typically going to cost more.
For sure.
And then there's still going to be ongoing costs every year because of food, medicine, you know, grooming, other things.
They grow, you need to replace items.
So first year, the range was kind of crazy. What I came up with was anywhere between $400 and $2,500. So that's a pretty big range, a $2,000 range there.
I'll fill y'all in on my numbers so far.
Subsequent years after that initial year was a little less, around like $300 to $2,000. But again, it depends on the size of your dog or size of your pet, what kind of food, what kind of equipment they need.
For sure.
And that's straight up for dogs. That was, I didn't look at other pets. Like,
and some for sure, like if you have fish tank, like fish themselves can be expensive. And then
you got to clean
maintenance
that.
And the cleaning. And,
So since you have more recent numbers, and this is like 4 weeks of this, how much have you spent?
So I haven't totaled it up, but I can break it down. So I went through a breeder because I knew I wanted a golden, and there's a lot of potential health issues with golden. So I did a ton of research and was like very, very specific in the breeder. I went through that was like American Kennel Club certified with all of the health checks on his parents. So he was $3,700.
Oh,
which
so
was
we
like
way
very
surpassed,
much
yeah.
the high end for golden puppies. Like there were goldens
Yeah.
for like 500, but like I don't know what.
You know where they came from.
I didn't know where they came from. Are they
they're
healthy?
taken care of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my initial trip, I think I texted you after. I went to Petco to get a bunch of supplies for him. The first like bill was I think like 400 for, you know, crate, bed, like not all the basics, a lot of them.
Yeah.
I ordered a bunch of other stuff like on Amazon. His food is like I'm feeding him this like pretty high-end kibble right now.
Yeah.
And it's like $50 a bag. I'm not sure. I had to just order the second bag. So let's say a 4-week supply. So $50 a month for food. His initial round of shots, the breeder took care of one. The second round for shots and like heartworm medication and stuff was I think $200. He goes back again on Tuesday. Let me think what else. Probably spent at least $1,000 in addition to the $3,400 so far.
4 weeks, at least $5K in.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure, yeah. Now that's like a lot of the upfront costs, but like the you know the
and that sounds
ongoing
about
stuff.
right. My sister has always gotten dogs from breeders for the most part, and I always feel like it's around that $3,000, $4,000 range.
I think certain breeds, like someone was telling me that like Frenchies can be like $5,000. Yeah, but it probably varies, and it definitely depends on the breeder and like how they take care of them and what they like guarantee you and that kind of thing. Yeah. So a good start, a good healthy budget going into this.
Now, did you plan the budget beforehand?
Not really. I had been considering it in the back of my head and then like floated it with my family because if you've listened to prior episodes, you'll know that I'm currently living with my parents and my grandmother at the moment. And I travel a lot for work in particular. Well, I travel a lot in general, but which I'll slow down, but I travel a lot for work. So kind of another cost is just like managing the time. So I discussed it with them if they would be willing to watch him and take care of him while I travel. And that kind of set the ball rolling, and then it became like, oh my God, we're getting a puppy. So I didn't set aside a lot of money in advance for it. I have pretty healthy like savings, so I just kind of dipped into that. This boy is tearing these cards up.
To be fair, like 10 years ago, this was my pre-knowing anything about personal finance.
Yeah.
I also did not plan it. I just knew that, I have a paycheck and I get paid pretty well. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Even if I did estimate what it would cost for getting a dog, I end up getting 2 dogs. So you got to double.
Budget out the window.
Yeah, some things you can share costs, but like no, you're doubling the food, you're doubling the dog insurance.
I just got him pet insurance just the other day, so that's like the one I signed up for is like $62 a month. But that can save you a lot in the long run. So, girl, talk about it.
So my dog insurance, I just renewed for the 2 dogs, and each policy cost over $1,000. It must like $1,100 or something. And I was trying to get it lower. Like, can I increase their deductible?
Yeah.
I was like, should I switch them to another carrier? It's harder when they're considered senior dogs now.
Yeah.
I think after 7 years or 10 years, somewhere around there, like depending on the insurance company, they consider them a more senior dog.
Yeah.
And so they were like, well, we can bring the policy down to like $800 if you increase the deductible to $1,000. So a deductible is when like, all right, if something were to happen and like one of my dogs needed surgery or something, I'd have to come out of pocket $1,000 before anything would be covered.
Yep.
So that's how I'd be increasing the deductible. And like taking that chance that to get the cheaper policy.
Sure.
The problem was they were like, yeah, but you can never go down to the lower deductible in the future.
Oh.
And I was like, oh.
You're locking that in.
Yeah, and I'm like, you know what? Whatever. I'll eat the $300 per dog cost to keep them on this policy. But for those pet owners, dog owners, like, you know how annoying pet insurance is. It's not like human insurance, like health insurance, where like, yeah, all your typical things are covered. No, they're not all covered. Like emergencies are covered. And I know because Miles, my dog Miles, I've taken him to the emergency at least 5-6 times in his life. Not for like genetic things, like things that he eats. And I don't want you to think I'm a bad dog owner. These have all been like pure kind of like accidents. Yeah. So one, those beef jerky bags where they have the little packet inside,
like the preservative,
do not eat. That was
read, Miles.
That was in a bag. It was ziplocked shut in the trash. And like he took it out and opened. He's smart. He knows how to open bags like that. And so he opened that, bit into that. And then when I found it, I was like, I don't know how much he ate or didn't eat. So I had to take him to the emergency. So I was like, $500 visit, easy. And then there was another time where a friend was staying over for the weekend. We all had a basketball tournament we were playing in. And so one of our friends, he lived farther out of Los Angeles, so he stayed over. He brought his stuff to do laundry so that, he could use his basketball clothes the next day. And so while we were all hanging out, I guess Miles went into his bag to find a Tide Pod and like bit into it, chewed it. And so that whole night, I took him to the vet overnight. And so I got no sleep for the tournament the next day because I don't know how much he ate and whatever. And there's something about like fragrant soaps and stuff that some dogs, like Miles, he rubs himself all over. He'll lick it.
Really? When I put on lotion, he licks my legs.
Yeah. This is too many stories to put into this episode. But the other one that Miles did one time was I had this vitamin E oil because I have these scars on my knees from surgery. Yeah. And so I was using this oil. It was completely shut and it was on my nightstand. Miles got it, opened the cap, like whatever, and got into it and like drank some. So then I took him. I just didn't know. I was like, I think I gotta go get his stomach pumped. Yeah. I don't know. Right. So sometimes. Oh wait, sorry. One more. Batteries. And here's the thing. How can I predict this one? I would go to work, and the dogs would be roaming around the house. There was a remote control that I think I put on the couch.
Like the arm of the couch.
On the arm of the couch. They must have had like a fun like little chase of each other because when I got home, the remote control was knocked to the ground. The batteries had come out, but then there was bite marks on the battery. Great. I was like, oh shit. I don't know. I got to take him to the vet. So those were all the times I can remember that I've had to take Miles to the emergency. And like, I've done my best to like dog proof my house. Yeah, it just happens. Stuff happens for sure. So each of those visits were like $400, $500. Maybe
and that's with insurance.
That's with insurance. Maybe I have to. No, that's without insurance. So I think I was able to get a couple reimbursed back. Maybe half of it reimbursed back. So yeah, insurance doesn't cover everything. Okay. There's no out-of-pocket maximum or anything like that for insurance. The best thing that insurance has ever covered for me was when Rocco had to get teeth extracted last year. So it was like a major surgery. He got like half his teeth taken out. He had like gum disease, which again is because like it's kind of my fault. I don't brush his teeth every day. They say they're like brush your dog's teeth like every day. And I like, who has the time? I brush my teeth every day. And like I got to add 2 more mouths. Right. Like I'm going to try. But and it's not just that. When they get older, they're bound to get like issues. You long way out for you. Yeah.
It just happened to one of my other best friends had the same thing. But her dog had to get like almost all of them.
Tooth extractions. Yeah. As Buckets is like gnawing on some stuff.
We brush his teeth, not every day, but we do. He just likes to eat the
so
toothpaste.
Cute. So we've talked a lot of financial costs. Obviously, it's going to cost a lot. You should plan for it in your budget if you're going to get a pet. But what are the other costs?
The 2 big ones that jump out to me are like just time. The lack of freedom or the limitations on your freedom because you have another being to care for. And that's going to vary depending on what kind of pet you have, right? Like cats are more independent. Fish are super independent, but like a dog requires a lot of attention. And you have to keep an eye on them all the time. So like right now, he's mostly potty trained.
Yeah.
I have to take him out pretty much every time he wakes up, and then like a few times a day.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I can't leave him for more than a couple hours. So it's limiting.
Yeah.
Right. And then of course travel, or like when you had before, you had to have a dog walker, right, to take care of your dogs.
Yeah.
So that's a huge one for sure.
Yeah. I've been lucky that most of my adulthood, I've had roommates who have loved the dogs.
Yeah.
So I've had help. But there were a couple years that I lived alone where I did have to get a dog walker, and the job I had at the time had me traveling a lot. So I did have to like shell up a lot of money for that.
Yeah.
And I had to say no to certain trips, vacation, like even personal trips when I can't find a dog walker, or if I don't have the extra money to pay. Like you're already paying to take a vacation or something like that.
Yep.
And then on top of that, you have to have money for your someone to watch your pet.
For sure. Yeah. And I think that's a big thing too, is like a mindset shift that I'm experiencing now. And I was mentally prepared for.
Yeah.
But like, all right, I used to, I was telling someone the other day, I've traveled probably already like 6 weeks out of the year so far in August. Like that's definitely gonna, and that was like personally.
Yeah.
That's definitely gonna slow down significantly.
Yeah.
The other piece of that is the emotional toll and the stress when I do travel. So I'm new to this, and obviously he's a puppy, so he's like more work. But coordinating that with people, making sure that they feel comfortable and like I can leave with him. Before I got him, I had 2 trips planned that I was trying not to have to move. So I went away for the first time last weekend.
Yeah.
And then I'm going away for a few days in a couple weeks, but then I have to travel for work right after that. And it's stressful, right? Like how long can I leave him? The guilt.
Oh, guilt.
The guilt is real.
Guilt.
I'm like, what is he going to do without me? Does he miss me?
Yeah. Well, if it makes you feel better, I've had them, Rocco and Miles, for 10 years, and I was gone this week for 3 days. And the whole time I'm like, are they thinking about me? Like, I still do that. Yeah. So it's never going to change.
I don't know if that makes me feel better or not. Yeah. No, at least I'm not alone, but it's not going to end.
Yeah, it's not going to end. You got to find peace with it at some point.
Yeah.
On guilt. So I have friends, Janelle, Michelle, like who will help me watch the dogs when both me and Alan are out of town.
Yeah.
And there were definitely 2 trips last year. Oh, and my old roommate, Cindy, too. So like there were a couple trips last year where they were watching the dogs, that the dog, like Miles, got sick.
Yeah.
Where they had like diarrhea, and like, so it's not just the guilt of like leaving the dog behind and having someone else have to rearrange their schedule to watch the dog. Yeah. But like if the dog gets sick,
right,
cleaning up after them.
Yeah. Like, and are you going to be, is he going to be okay for you? Like, so I have another friend who's going to watch him, going to puppy sit for a few days the next time I leave. And she's so chill about it, but I'm just like, I hope he doesn't like shit all over your house
I know.
or something.
Yeah,
like,
no.
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole level of stress I never would have had before.
I have like a whole like a laminated card with their instructions of like, if something happens, take them to this vet. And so Miles, one of my dogs, has seizures. And I found that out. He had his first one after I've had him for 3 years. Yeah. So for the last 7 years, he's had seizures. And so I've had friends see a dog have a seizure for the very first time with Miles, and it's scary. It's scary. It's scary if you've never seen anyone or any pet have a seizure. So even me finding someone to watch the dogs, I have to like prep them that if this happens, here's what you do. There's nothing you like. It's gonna look scary, but just like let it happen. And on that, another financial cost. It took me a lot of.
Oh, buddy. All right. It
took me a lot of twists and turns to find out something to help manage Miles' seizures. Yeah. Because vets were like, well, you can put him on seizure medication, but he might start being drowsy all the time. And I'm like, he's too young to like be drowsy all the time. And so I was finding other remedies. Miles is on CBD, THC CBD now, that I get for him, and I just this is kind of like a home remedy that I found on the internet, and it's been working. It's been like making him have like so many less seizures.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he still has his energy to play. The problem is how much it costs. Like one bottle is like $100, and he'll probably go through one in a month. So I'm always buying that on top of everything else.
Right.
Yeah. So it's wild.
I had a thought and I lost my train of thought. It's distracting ass dog.
Buckets is like distracting because he's cute.
Yeah, and crazy.
Yeah. I get to look straight at him. Buckets, you got something to say?
What do you want to say, buddy?
How do you feel about your new home? What's his voice?
Oh. He's like a little, like a high-pitched pre-puberty little boy. Yeah.
So something that was interesting to me throughout the years of having pets was how it affected dating.
Ooh.
Yeah. So have you, before you had Buckets, did pets ever come into play when you thought about like compatibility with someone?
Not really.
Yeah.
Like if, I guess the extent would be like if on someone's dating profile they were like, must love dogs, I'd be like, well, it's not for me,
Yeah.
I don't know that I have dated someone that had a pet, or at least never been serious with someone that had a pet, for sure. In my last relationship, we were of a similar mind about it. Like we would always joke like, yeah, one day we'll probably get a dog when our kids want one, when they like ask us for one. Yeah. Obviously that has changed, but yeah, so I haven't experienced that. So what was your experience?
So my dogs, they're a little crazy. I don't know. I wasn't with them the first 10 months of their lives, so they definitely got abused in some way because they are a little, they're a little crazy with guests. Like they don't bite people or anything, but they'll bark.
They're very protective over you.
They're very protective over me. One is like my personal bodyguard. That's Miles, and then one is like my bouncer into the house, like Rocco. He's always the watchdog looking out for someone to come in the house.
We're gonna put this puppy back in his bag.
You're gonna need a bigger bag soon. He's growing so fast.
We're gonna get a wagon. Anyway.
Yeah. And so what was the question? This is the first time I've been this distracted on an episode.
Dating with pets.
Oh yeah. And so I've had like it be kind of a turnoff for other people or for other guys because like 2 dogs, and then like especially like if they ever came to hang out or if I had the dogs with me and if the dogs didn't like them, that made them obviously feel away. Yeah. So and then for me I could never be open to dating anyone who had a cat. It would have come down to it's me or the cat. I couldn't live in the same house with a cat because I'm deathly allergic. Yeah. So yeah, it did come into play.
So how did that go with Alan the first time?
So my fiance Alan, I don't know. I don't think he knew what he was getting into when he like moved in. When he met the dogs and he got to like hang out with them, it was a warm feeling. So he, like loved them immediately. But that's different from when you're actually like living with them and being responsible for them.
Caretaker.
Yeah. And so that was a transition, but it felt like a good one. I felt like it helped. So something his mom said to me when she came to visit for the first time and met Rocco and Miles, she was like, oh my God, this is so good for Alan because he's probably so used to only taking care of himself. Sure. It's like something else that he has to now think of some other being besides himself. And I'm like, yeah, like a lot of people don't have that. I think as women, we naturally take care of other things, other people. Yeah. And I think for some men, not all, but some, they don't really have that until they have kids. Yeah. So I do think having a pet makes you have to think of, I can't be gone out of the house longer than however many hours. I think that was new for Alan because Alan used to live in London and he's lived in New York where if it's a weekend, he'll be out the whole day.
Go,
Go, hang out with friends, go to a bar, go to a restaurant. And I'm like, well, we can't really do that. We have to stop home and go walk the dogs and then we can go back out. So there are things like that were like a huge shift for him. Yeah. But
I can relate to that too so far of like, I agree. I definitely have that kind of caretaker thing, but I'm very independent. And so I haven't had to worry about someone else. And I think it's been a positive so far.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously very early. One like very specific thing. So this is kind of like a part of my ADHD is like I'm not very good with time routines. Like doing the same thing at a specific time every day has never existed in my whole life, unless I had like school, some external structure. And I would love that if I could handle that, but if it's just up to me, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But having him, I feed him at 7 a.m., I feed him at 1 p.m., I feed him at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
And like having that routine has been really positive already. Granted, he's waking up at like 4:30 in the morning.
Oh, man.
So the sleep has been a big cost right now.
Yeah. But that gets better.
Yeah.
It's puppy life.
But like having a little bit of that structure that's just not reliant solely on my whims, I think has been good for me so far.
Something that I just thought of, the legal cost. Hopefully no one ever has to go through like a legal battle. I've never have. But something I was thinking about recently, Rocco one time did accidentally bite a person that was in my house. It was a roommate of mine, was dating someone, and they were at the house, and Rocco didn't like just bite her. Like what happened was she was kind of walking kind of fast, like from the bathroom towards me, and I think Rocco thought she was going to attack me.
Yeah.
And so he didn't straight up like bite her, but like he nipped her thigh and it like bruised up.
Yeah.
She was a good sport about it. She was like, oh, it was an accident, like it's fine. So I was like, okay, cool. But that made me think like, oh shoot, I don't have any type of like additional like personal liability insurance or umbrella insurance. I'm not even sure which I think it's liability insurance that you would add to a policy of yours to cover that kind of thing in case someone sued you.
Yeah.
So that was in my house, so that was different. But I think this happens all the time when people keep dogs off leash outside,
For sure.
or even on leash. If a dog attacks someone else, there's always
or even another dog. So actually that
Yeah.
happened to my aunt maybe like a year ago. She was walking her dog and another dog attacked her and her dog, and he didn't make it. They had to put him down. I know. It's awful. That's the other thing. So jumping
Yeah.
ahead, the emotional
God.
cost
This is the part I didn't want to talk about in this episode.
of losing a pet.
Yeah.
Obviously, they don't have the same lifespan
I know.
as a human.
Yeah, you're bound to, if you have a pet, you're bound to lose the pet. Like you'll lose the pet will
You will
pass
outlive
away. Yeah. I was like, what are the words?
I got you.
What are the words? I don't want to say the words.
You will outlive it.
Oh man, I think about this more than I should, and it stresses me out.
Yeah.
And I have to, so like, the dogs turned 10, and everyone's like, yeah, they're old dogs now, but I have friends that are like, nah, like they're halfway through their life. They're young. They're small dogs. They're gonna live to like age 20. I'm like, cool. I got another
Yeah.
ton, like a lot of years. But like, I do think about like, oh my God, that grieving process. I've seen so many of my friends and family members have had to grieve the loss of pets, and it's so sad because it's like, it's obviously it's different from a child, different from a parent or sibling, but it's a
Your
family
companion.
member. It's a
family member.
companion. It's a dependent of you. It's like
I mean, you spend so much time with your pets.
I know, and it's like no one prepares you for that. But it's like something when you get a pet, you're not thinking of that the end of it, but like when it does happen, like you have to be ready to grieve and do the proper process, because emotional cost, man.
Huge. Yeah. I mean, so like I said, we had a corgi that we got when I was about 19. And his name was Sumo. He's a great dog. I only lived like with him for a couple years, but, and he was my brother's dog, but he passed away at, I think 14. And the day they called me, I immediately started bawling. And like, I didn't realize how much I loved him until he was gone. And and then now they have another corgi who's also amazing. But my brother in particular, like, still grieves and mourns the loss of Sumo, and gets really emotional. You can't replace that bond. You can have a new bond with a different dog or a different pet, but it's not going to be the same.
Yeah. Quick story. My nephew, he was a lot younger. I'm just gonna guess like 3 years old ish when one of their dogs died, because it was an older dog. It was my brother-in-law's dog for a long time, and just so happened to be an old age and pass away when my nephew was really, really young. So they were like, they didn't know how it was going to affect them. But pretty crazy, like 2-3 years later, when my nephew had more awareness of like his emotions and could talk more, like he would get sad. He would be like, I miss Lenny. Like he'd have dreams about him and like had to grieve it like later on.
Aww.
I know, it's so sad. And so I'm like, oh man.
So I think what that brings me to, though, we've talked a lot about the costs.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about a lot about the benefits, right?
This is the easy part.
Yeah.
Okay. Companionship, love. Okay, well, obviously I'm talking about dogs, but like everyone has their own pets and loves them in a different way, right? Even if you have a pet like a fish that you can't touch or pet, right? It's something.
Still a companion.
Yeah, still
you
a
talk
companion.
To it.
You can talk to it. But for me, dogs in particular, like they've been my sidekicks throughout ups and downs, through everything, through breakups, through moving apartments, through changing jobs. Like they're my sidekicks. They're there every day. When I get home, it is a party. You're not supposed to. Well, at least this is what my vet told me. Like, you're not supposed to have big comings and goings, because it might increase the amount of anxiety they have when you're gone. Like, you're not supposed to like be like, oh my God, like, hell, yeah. I do that anyway, but like, it's a party.
Life's
and
too short.
Every day I get to have that joy when I leave the house and come back. Even if I go and leave to the store for 5 minutes and come back, it's a party when I get back.
Aww.
And so like, that's priceless. Like, how about you so far?
I mean, I'll double down on all of that. Like, the love is crazy. I obviously don't have kids, so I know that's probably the next level. But yeah, it's crazy, like, just how much. I had this thought that the act of caring for this, like, dependent little infant builds so much love. And I think that's something like you can carry over to your life. Like, it's not just a feeling, and it's not a feeling from receiving. It's by doing those things, it, builds so much affection, and that's really fulfilling. The other thing that's probably my favorite part is like the playfulness, and like the silliness, the exasperating moments that are also hilarious. Like, I didn't have as much of a place in my life for that playfulness at this point. And, like last night I was sitting there on my bed and I was like making him like, kick, punch. And like, he's like beating me up and we dance and, just play little games. And it's so fun and brings so much joy. And I don't do that with you, so that's been pretty priceless.
Yeah. I mean, I got stories for days on all those things. Like, one of my dogs, Rocco, he like, I get so frustrated with him because he'll get on the bed. Mm-hmm. He knows he's not allowed on the bed, but when we're like working throughout the day, he'll go in the bed and get under the covers somehow, and there'll be fur all over the bed that we gotta like clean every day. It's another cost, but it's so hilarious because what we've tried to do in the last 2 weeks, we've tried to put like a Ring camera to catch him in the act, because we're actually not sure which dog it is, but we think it's him. And anytime the camera's up there, he doesn't do it. And we're like, we've tried to hide the camera. Like, how does he know? So we've not caught him on camera yet. It only happens when the camera's not there. And it's like, it's just hilarious, like day-to-day adventures with these guys. So it's hilarious. Yeah. I could go on and on about benefits. Like, the caring thing is interesting. It's like, I don't know, it's a selfless act, because like you're opting in to right, there's no accidents here. There's no like just accidentally getting pregnant and having a kid. Like you're choosing
this
to have a pet in your life and to care for them. Hopefully, I know that there are stories of people not treating their pets well, which is very, very sad. But I think the majority of people, I'm hoping, like have that bit of like selfless care, and it makes you a better person with.
I think it makes you more patient and more loving, more understanding.
I think so.
Hopefully, I'm new to this, but
yeah.
All right, we ready for this?
Yes, 20 cents. 20 Cents is the segment of the show where both Lizzy and myself, Lissa, each get 60 seconds to give our 2 cents on today's topic, whether it is a net positive or a net negative. Where does 20 cents come from?
Well, you get the opinion of 2 dimes, y'all.
2 dimes. All right, Liz. Are pets worth it?
Come on, y'all. Look at this face. Look at this face. Yeah, hell yeah. Very, very worth it. I know I'm new to this, and they talk a lot about the puppy blues, so, maybe I'll experience that. But I went into it pretty eyes wide open, knowing what I was getting into for the most part, and I've definitely been significantly happier just on my day-to-day. Like, the standard has risen. I'm much sleepier and my health has been affected. But I know that's short term, and it's my family now. It's my son. I wouldn't trade him for the world. So net positive. Easy money.
Easy peasy.
What about you, Lissa?
Oh man. All right. Easy. Net positive. 100%.
No question.
No questions. I'll give a little bit of context. Like, obviously, we talked about some of the stressful things that come with pets. You don't have freedom of your time like you might if you don't have a pet. You have to pay for things like if emergencies happen that you can't control. But like that little bit of stress added to my life is like nowhere near how much joy I just have from having pets. So 100% worth it for me. And like I said, I didn't even budget for it. I think people should, but I didn't, and I made it work. And you kind of just make it work. Yeah.
You know what? That reminded me of one more benefit. I feel like I'm a lot more present. Like I'm spending more time in my day just like playing, being with him versus like doing some other bullshit that's not worth my time. Yeah. So that's another benefit.
Yeah. Well, that was probably no surprise to you, but remember, this is what we think at this moment in time and for the rest of time for sure. For me. But no one can make that decision but you. What do you think for you? Are pets worth it?
Hit us up. Let us know what you think. DM us at NetNetPodcast or email us at hi@netnetpodcast.com. And if you want to follow us individually, here's where you can find us.
I'm at Wealth for Women of Color on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram.
And I'm at live_well_Lizzy. Buckets here does not have an Instagram
yet, but you need one. I'll drop Rocco and Miles' Instagrams also in the description.
Yeah. All right. He'll probably have one soon.
Yeah. All references, statistics, and resources mentioned can be found in our show notes. This podcast is for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only and should not be constituted as financial advice. Remember to always do your own research, consult a professional as needed, and feel empowered to make your own damn decisions.